All right, what's going on, guys? I'm super excited to chat today because today I dropped my 100th week of newsletters in a row. Every Tuesday and Friday for the last 100 weeks, I have sent out a newsletter. Hopefully you guys are on the newsletter list. Hopefully you've been reading them. And I'm not doing this to brag. I honestly love writing these newsletters. If you know anything about me, I love writing and newsletters. And mostly today, this podcast is going to be a reflection because writing these emails, it changed how I think. It made me think I'm somewhat of a decent entrepreneur, and mostly because it changed my business. And not only I'm talking about Patch, obviously the 100 newsletters in a row, but I feel like I can say this with confidence because this has helped me grow now 2 different companies. Patch, which I've wrote 100 newsletters in a row for, but also Ripple. I wrote a year and a half's worth of consistent newsletters for Ripple, and that's a cash-based physical therapy clinic that I ended up selling in 3 years. In 3 years, I grew it to 7 PTs, 2 locations. Talking about Patch, I did a similar reflection of my newsletter writing at the 52-week mark, so a year in since I wrote those newsletters. But, as Mr. Beast says, you're really just getting warmed up until you've done something 100 times. That might seem outrageous to you, but I really believe that you don't really start to master something until you do something 100 times. So today, in honor of writing my 100th newsletter, I'm breaking down the 10 biggest lessons I've learned from sending these 100 newsletters in a row. Okay, so let's get into it. The biggest lesson, and the first lesson, is that newsletters still work. I don't care what you're selling. If you're selling cash-based physical therapy, if you're selling software, if you're selling marketing services like what we do, email still works. At Patch, it's been the #1 driver of our growth. It's nurtured leads that we've gotten. It's given clinic owners a look into what we're doing at Patch, the innovation we're rolling out, and a look into my brain, which, grew Ripple to 7 PTs in 2 locations, which I think a lot of clinic owners resonate with. And then at Ripple, my old clinic, newsletters are one of the best sources for our new patients. We spent a ton of money on advertising for my clinic, and we had lots of leads that would inquire, but they would need some type of warming up before they actually committed. And this is exactly what the newsletter did. A newsletter isn't like platform specific or industry specific. Think about like your favorite brand or your favorite influencer. They're sending you consistent newsletters, and if they're doing it, we know that this stuff, it just works. Lesson number 2 is that newsletters don't take as much time as you think as long as you're disciplined. So when I was writing Ripple's newsletters, and definitely for Patch's newsletters, I block an hour every morning to write both of the newsletters for the week. This is a non-negotiable. This is just in my calendar. It was something I sat down and I did. I didn't push it out to squeeze a patient into or a demo call or a sales call or anything like that. These were non-negotiables. And honestly, around 50 newsletters in, I was able to slice that hour down and turn it into 30 minutes because, like anything else, you get better with reps. So most people say they don't have time to write a newsletter, but really what you haven't done is put in the reps to optimize your system. So for the second lesson, put a block on your calendar now and start writing today. Lesson number 3 is you're not writing to sell, you're really writing to signal. Okay, and this is a big one. The point of the newsletter isn't to immediately convert someone. Okay, most of my Tuesday newsletters that I send out, they don't even have a call to action on them. Really, it's just a brain dump of what I've been thinking, and hopefully this is something that's helpful for clinic owners. Then you get to my Friday newsletter, and again, if you're on the list, then you have an idea of what I'm talking about here. That Friday newsletter is just full of links and ideas I think that clinic owners are going to find helpful, and honestly things that I've found helpful for me to grow as an entrepreneur. Then what I do is I look at who clicks on those, and then I follow up with those people directly, and that's where those sales come from. So if you're thinking about writing a newsletter for your clinic, include a bunch of links in there. We love a block style newsletter. These are the type of newsletters that we write for our Patch community. And again, it's not about the blast, it's really about the signal, and see who is warm with your list and who's actually interacting with that newsletter. Then you can reach out to those people and get them to come in and buy. Lesson number 4, I think that writing is the best skill for entrepreneurs. Okay, it's not about how good of a clinician you are. Certainly to an extent it is, yes, but growing a business is not about how good of a clinician you are or about how suave of a marketer creativity you are. I think it's about how good of a writer you are. I think you can fight me on this. I dare you to. But what writing does is it forces you to think clearly. It makes you distill big, messy thoughts into simple and sharp ideas. And if you can do that, then it allows for you to be a better leader. It allows for you to sell better and scale faster. So if you're trying to create this full marketing campaign, but you can't take the idea of a problem that your patient has and distill it down into your solution of physical therapy, and if you can't get to that point clearly and concisely, that doesn't mean you have a bad product. It doesn't mean you're bad clinically, right? It means you're just not a good writer, and you can't concisely take those ideas and put them into thoughts and write down on a newsletter and get people to actually resonate with that. So being a really good writer is the most important skill as an entrepreneur because it helps with everything else. It helps you be a better leader, it helps you be a better marketer, it helps you be better at sales. So if you can think clearly, that means you can write clearly. That means you can do all the other entrepreneurial skills properly. Lesson number 5 is a newsletter is about building leverage and not just sending emails. Okay, every newsletter adds up. It's a compounding asset is really what it is, okay? The first newsletter that you send out, no one's gonna care. You're gonna get a bunch of people that unsubscribe from it. But by week 10, the people are starting to understand what they're getting and they're starting to actually look for it. That's why when you're writing newsletters, being consistent about it and ideally sending it on the same day and time. So for my patch newsletters, I send a Tuesday morning newsletter and I send a Friday mid-afternoon newsletter. So people start expecting those. And I did the same thing with Ripple too. I sent a 6:45 a.m. Tuesday newsletter. And if I didn't send that out, I actually had people reaching out to me being like, are you okay? Where's the newsletter at? And that's exactly what you want here is you want to build that leverage because by week 100, you're going to have people that are actually waiting for that newsletter. The words don't change, right? But the leverage does. Lesson number 6 is that the real ROI is invisible until it's totally obvious. All right. And let me explain what that actually means here. People on your email list, they lurk. They're not going to open a couple of your emails. Maybe even with the new privacy laws, you don't even know who's opening it. They don't reply. Maybe they don't click. And then one day you get a DM or a discovery call booked and they're like, hey, I've been reading the newsletter for a while and, my back is killing me. So now I need to come in and actually get some physical therapy. I heard that so many times at Ripple with our clinic's newsletter. I hear it with Patch as well of, people have been reading the newsletter week over week and they're finally ready to take the plunge and sign up with Patch and get some help on their marketing. And that's exactly what you're looking for. People don't have to read every single newsletter. You can't be discouraged when people aren't opening your newsletter because again, you don't even privacy laws now. You don't know who's opening your newsletter. Open rate is a really, really hard metric and a really bad metric to be totally honest with you. So you need to think about newsletters like you're planting seeds. Okay. You're not going to see the harvest right away, but it's coming. Stay consistent, continue watering it, continue writing that newsletter, and eventually you're going to have a crop, a flower that grows. You're going to have new patients in the door. So again, the ROI isn't going to come and it's going to feel like you're throwing newsletters into the ether and nothing's actually happening and it's not really worth it. But you need to build that consistency and that trust with your list. Lesson number 7 is that newsletters show that you're the expert. This is a really important thing to remember here. A good newsletter is all about packaging your thoughts, okay? And most importantly, it's about spotting patterns in your own business. I have so many clinic owners that reach out to me about writing newsletters and they're like, I have no idea what I should be writing about. Every time I sit down to write something, I have no idea what to put in. It takes me 3 hours, then I just don't do it. The number one thing that I tell clinic owners to do when they're writing their newsletter is just to talk about something that happened at the clinic this week. Maybe it was a discovery call. Maybe it was a conversation you had with a patient in the clinic. Maybe it's a success story from one of your PTs. Maybe it's a tricky case that you solved to get somebody out of pain. Maybe it's a new Peter Attia article that you thought was going to be super helpful for people and you want to share that with your list. Because we have to remember that even the simplest tips within the newsletters are going to be groundbreaking information for your population. You went to school for physical therapy, right? Not them. Even talking about a simple hip flexor stretch could honestly be life-changing for them. So if you position yourself as the expert in your newsletters, that's where you're going to get more people to resonate and actually trust you, right? So again, if you feel like, man, this is just like a super simple concept, think about if you ever get emails from your accounting team or an industry that you're super familiar with, they probably think whatever they're talking about, this new tax Murphy's Law, or like with me, if I'm talking about a certain marketing thing, for me, the marketing stuff is pretty obvious, pretty easy, because I've been diving into marketing for the last 5 years. I know everything about it. I'm obsessed with it, but that's because I'm the expert there, and clinic owners are good at being clinic owners, right? So you need to think about that when you're writing your newsletter, that a super simple exercise tip or injury prevention tip or health and wellness tip could be groundbreaking information for somebody that's on your list. That is the accountant, that is the financial person that really isn't in health and wellness. So you can share super easy tips, and it's going to position you as the expert. Which leads me to lesson number 8. Consistency builds trust. Sending a newsletter every week for 2 years, it builds trust. It shows people you show up no matter what. And this is the number one reason that somebody is going to decide to move forward with you. Listen, the cash-based PT world, it's super saturated now. There are tons of cash-based clinics out there. I'm sure you've seen them pop up on every street corner that you have out there. So you need to do something that's going to build that extra trust with a potential patient. Think about it. If somebody meets you at an event, or they sign up for something via an ad, and they hear from you with weekly helpful tips and tricks and useful information, when they inevitably do throw their back out, or their knee hurts again when they're running and they just can't take the pain anymore, who are they going to reach out to? They're not going to go to Google and go through the whole cycle again. They're going to reach out to you because you've been in their inbox every single week. And it doesn't matter if they've opened that email or not. They've seen your clinic name, they've seen your name come through. That is the most important thing, because you're building trust there, and they know when they reach out to you, you're going to respond because you've been in their inbox every week for the last 6 months. But if you think about it on the flip side, if you meet somebody at an event, or they come through an ad and they never hear from you, there's no type of follow-up, well, I think your business is dead and there's no real trust there. So again, this kind of goes back to one of the earlier lessons, that you're not going to see the immediate ROI. You have to build that trust first, and then people are going to come in when they're actually ready. Lesson number 9, the email list is more valuable than social media. Social media reach, it's a super small percentage if you're lucky. And the worst part is you don't even own that list, right? The email list you own, those emails, they can never be taken away from you. And honestly, email is never going to be taken away either. The algorithm, on the other hand, think about Instagram, think about Meta ads, think about Google ads, that shit changes daily. One day you're getting a ton of interaction, and the next month it goes totally dry and you have no idea why, and you can't control that. Zuckerberg controls that stuff. Who even knows what a platform is going to look like in 5 years from now? But email, right? Email is not changing. It's only going to get better, and there's no like viral trend dancing with emails either, right? Like I think that's why I started to lean into it. But really, it's direct access to the people who actually care, who have shown interest in your builds. If you're not building a list and you're trying to in turn build your social media presence, you can certainly do both at the same time. Your social media presence should build your email list. But if you're not doing that, then you need to start now. Lesson number 10, email is still and always will be the best form of marketing. Listen, I run a digital marketing company. We do paid advertising. We do a lot of this other stuff, but email marketing is still the best thing that you can do, okay? So you can throw out paid ads. You can throw out local marketing events. You can get rid of TikTok and Reels, and you can give me newsletters all day long. And really, I think that because no matter how much marketing changes, it still and always will be the best form of marketing. A reason I was able to grow 2 companies on it, and 2 totally different companies, right? Think about it. I grew a cash-based physical therapy clinic on newsletters, and I also grew a digital marketing company on newsletters. Those couldn't be 2 more opposite things. And think about all of your favorite brands and the favorite influencers. If you're on their list, they're writing emails weekly. That's because it works. Remember that. Email works. So if you're a clinic owner who's struggling to fill staff PT's schedule, or even struggling to fill your own schedule, then you need to start writing. Start getting in front of your list. Put a block on your calendar every single week and put a newsletter together. And if you check it out, the link in my bio, I have a free email newsletter training that I think is super helpful for clinic owners that are trying to start writing newsletters. I think it's going to help with this. And if you really hate writing and you really don't want to do it, at Patch, we provide done-for-you newsletter services too. So if you seriously can't commit to getting one done, or you really just hate it, we can always do it for you. No sweat. Just DM me and inquire for more information. Happy to talk you through that. That's 100 newsletters down. Those are my 10 lessons. And to be honest with you, this is just my warm-up round. I'm excited to see what comes for my next 100 newsletters. So to everybody that's been on the list, thank you so much. Hopefully what I've been writing has been helpful for you guys, whether you've been there since day one of Patch when I started writing this 100 weeks ago, or if you've just joined the list. For me, this has been a blast to write, more so than anything. I just love doing it. And again, I'm even more excited for the next 100. So if you're not on the list and you're listening to this and you want to get on the newsletter list, see what all the hype's about, head on over to thepatchsystem.com to get on it. It's free, it's fun. I keep it super light in there, and I think it can change your business. So I will see you guys in the next box. See you guys for the next 100 newsletters, and appreciate all you guys.